that you making your child be the mom and you're being the child in your relationship with her is also worrisome to me.
When you and I were talking about this case, this person we're talking about where this came from, wasn't he a prior um, partner of Miss Barnett and that ended up in a domestic violence incident?
That is correct. I don't know their dating relationship at that time, but they were close. And he was hanging out around the house frequently. This was back in August, and when the department had done an unannounced visit at Miss Barnett's home and subsequently took Miles out of her unsupervised care at that time. She had gotten into a fight that night with this individual that resulted in a domestic violence.
So, did she have prior knowledge of this person's use of back in August of 2025?
Yes, she did. When I talked to Miss Barnett about these individuals that she is surrounding herself with and their influence, she had stated that she had stopped hanging out with this individual because she knows that he is using them. And that was back in August.
Okay, but then there was the recent positive from a person that she had prior knowledge of using and also had a domestic violence incident with.
That is correct. When I pointed this out to Miss Barnett, she had advised me that she did not have any idea that this individual was using them. When I pointed out to her that she had informed me back in August that he was using them, her response to me was, well, I just wanted to make sure. And now I know for sure.
All right. So, uh, also, has Miss Barnett's relationships with other people interfered with services, more specifically, actually doing a second psychological evaluation?
Yes. Tiffany was scheduled for a psychological evaluation with Bridges of Northern Michigan, to which I was to transport her on December 11th. On December 10th, Tiffany had messaged me late into the late afternoon, early evening. I had happened to be working late that day and had messaged her back. She had stated that she was having an anxiety breakdown and that she was not going to go to her psychological evaluation. When I prompted as to why Tiffany was feeling this way, she had stated that she had found Dennis cheating on her and that she couldn't deal with doing a psychological evaluation. Miss Barnett and I had gone back and forth about the importance of completing this psychological evaluation and utilizing her coping skills to deal with these stressors so that she can continue to engage in her services. She ended the visit or ended the evening stating that she wasn't going to be able to go the next morning. I had not planned on taking her. She told me she was not going to go. She had texted me and inquired if I was still taking her, to which point we went back and forth a little bit more on whether she was going or not going. I then told Tiffany that I was going to drive to her house and that I would highly encourage her to get in the vehicle, but I could not force her to get in the vehicle. Tiffany ultimately did decide to be transported to the psychological evaluation after some further back and forth.
Okay, I just want to clear something up. You said that you mentioned a dentist was cheating on her. Mr. Hodges' name is Dennis. They're not in a relationship, are they?
My apologies. I am referring to Mr. Hodges in this case. They were not in a relationship. They were kind of in an in-between is how it was explained to me, where they were open to being in a relationship, but they were not currently committed to a relationship. I had pointed this out to Tiffany that they were not together. She had stated that she had hoped that they were working in that direction, but after she found out that he was with another individual, she came to the conclusion that they were not going to get back together, and that's what prompted her anxiety breakdown.
Okay, and doesn't she have issues on how she treats Corinne, uh, the use of profanity and the role reversals?
Yes, that is correct. During the last review hearing, we had discovered that Miss Barnett had relapsed on alcohol, at which point she had contacted Corinne and used some profanity and name calling towards Corinne very inappropriately. Um, Based on that, we had requested that Miss Barnett's parenting time be suspended, with the exception of family counseling. To which immediately after that court hearing, Tiffany had contacted Corinne, and then, despite being told that she could not have contact with Corinne, contacted Corinne again later that night. To which point, Corinne reached out to me the next day and told me that her mom was trying to get a hold of her through a group chat on some social media app. And Corinne had advised that she had to block her mom because it was too hard for her to deal with.
All right. So, and I just want to clear this up. The second to last page of your court report, the word to cease use of this substance, you mean cease, CEASE, and not.
Yes, that
Uh,
is correct. I do apologize. That was a typo error on my part.
No, just on a lighthearted note, I mean, we're not recommending that it would be beneficial for mom to use marijuana.
That is correct. We are not recommending that.
Okay. So is is mom, how would you describe it? Is she making some progress in some areas and maybe not progress in other areas?
I would say so. I have touched base with the family counselor, who has advised that Tiffany is recognizing the errors of her mistakes, and trying to correct them. So I think that she is making progress in the ability to recognize what she needs to do. Miss Barnett's problem is the follow through. She has signed up for an additional recovery coach, and she has been working, sent me a couple of confirmations that she's attended some AA classes. But she doesn't seem to be showing significant benefit from what she is learning. She has she's faced with these stressors, these daily stressors, and she reacts on emotion rather than the coping skills that she's been learning.
Okay. So bottom line is, this is, excuse me. This being a permanency planning hearing, I know we're about 27 months into this case. We're still asking to continue the goal for reunification for mom.
That is correct. We do not have the results back from the psychological evaluation, and to properly address all of Miss Barnett's needs, I think it's imperative that we have that assessment back to ensure that we have provided her with the services that she would benefit from.
Okay, and so, but we are looking for a much better performance out of mom this next 90 days. Is that right?
That is correct. I have had the discussion with Miss Barnett regarding the length of time her children have been in care, and her recent relapse on alcohol, and then the positive screening, as well as the screenings in the home, that we are at a critical point in the case and that she needs to make substantial benefit at this point. To which her response to me was that she is taking her sobriety seriously.
Okay. So, but again, this is like 27 months into the case. And now we're taking our sobriety seriously.
That is correct. When I had pointed that out to Miss Barnett and asked her what the difference was from when the case first started to 27 months in, her response was that she is now taking her sobriety seriously this time.
Okay. And all the while, her children are waiting for mom to be an appropriate and proper parent.
That is correct.
So the kids, they any red flags for these kids, or are they doing well in their placement?
Corinne is struggling. She is struggling with coping skills. She is having issues at school and learning how to handle stressors at school. She's even requested to switch schools. I have talked with the caregivers about this as well as Miss Barnett and Corinne's counselor. The only individual that is for this is Corinne's counselor. Miss Barnett did not say that she was really for or against it, but rather what is best for Corinne. And I believe that if we allow Corinne to switch schools at this point, we would be wasting an opportunity to teach her some coping skills that she so desperately needs. But I am also further exploring that with the school counselor as well as her CMH counselor. Because Corinne is quote unquote struggling with this, with her mental health. Per Corinne, she is failing ELA and math classes as she is skipping those classes, stating that she just can't handle it. She did have a recent medication review, and we're hoping that that will also help because she did have one of her medications increased. Aside from Corinne, Miles is doing well. There are still some concerns with his potty training. The daycare provider has indicated that when he's at daycare, he leaks, is what they had stated. So they had requested the caregivers have him evaluated medically to just rule out any medical needs for him, to which point they had stated that they would. Aside from that, Miles, according to the daycare provider, seems zoned out anytime he has a family counseling appointment or even a visitation with Mr. Hodges. But aside from that zoned out effect, they haven't reported anything concerning regarding parenting time. But there is still concern for his aggression, which he is in behavioral counseling with CMH for.
Okay, and what's the recommendation for start with dad and then we'll go to mom, the issue of parenting time?
For dad, my recommendation would be that parenting time continue twice a week. For Mr. Hodges, either supervised or unsupervised by MDHHS or its designee. For Miss Barnett, I would recommend that parenting time still be suspended pending the results of the psychological evaluation. As per the last court order, we do have a recommendation from the counselor to resume supervised, but we're still waiting on that psychological evaluation. So I would recommend that it be supervised until we receive the evaluation, at which point supervised or unsupervised visits be reinstated by MDHHS or its designee at MDHHS's discretion. My apologies.
Okay, and last question, with the psychological for mom, we could have had that information months and months ago.
I guess can you rephrase the question?
Well, has mom delayed in completing the second evaluation, the psychological evaluation?
Miss Barnett had received a evaluation through her counselor. For those results, I have not received. I have requested them. Miss Barnett has also requested them from him, but has not received them. The evaluation completed by Bridges, that assessment was scheduled and attended. I do not believe it was scheduled before this past December scheduled date.
Okay, that sounds like my misunderstanding. Thank you. Nothing further, Judge.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sommerfeld. Mr. Delaney?
Very briefly, the alcohol monitor, is that an ankle monitor for Dennis?
That is correct.
And does it appear that the trigger was maybe a false positive because DOC didn't get involved and they did not violate his probation or parole? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And in fact, he recently had his monitor taken off by his parole officer.
Okay, so does that mean that they're no longer requiring a monitor because they feel that he's performing with satisfaction on that issue?
I would tend to agree. However, I do not want to state to what they're feeling, as I have not talked to them directly about why they removed it. But that is my assumption, yes.
Okay. How long has he been without the monitor? Do you know?
I believe it's been roughly a month, but I'm not quite sure exactly when.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Rice, this case has been going on, as Mr. Sommerfeld mentioned, for about 27 months. Or not Corinne, but Tiffany had told you maybe that she thought her drape was laced or something like that. Is that correct as far as the
Yes, that is correct.
Are you familiar with her drug tests over the past 27 months?
Not over the course of the 27 months. I can definitely attest to the screening since September of 25 when I took over the case.
Are you aware of her ever previously testing positive for?
I mean, no.
So this was kind of like a one, that this is the only single positive she's had during the pendency of this case.
For yes.
Thank you. Now, I wanted to bring up some of the counseling. She counsels with Jeanette Sayer.
Yes, that is correct, for family counseling.
And how long has she been counseling with Miss Sayer?
At least as long as I've had the case. I know it's been longer, but I don't exactly recall when they started.
And how often are those sessions?
They were bi-weekly. However, when parenting time visitations became suspended, they upped it to weekly visitation, just to rather quickly address the needs.
But she's been counseling with Miss Sayer for several months at least?
At a minimum, yes. I would argue longer.
Now, with a psychological evaluation, how long does that, is that like a continuing thing? Is that like a one-time deal? How often does Tiffany see the evaluator?
He only sees the evaluator once, to which she has went and seen. Her particular evaluation had to be split up into 2 different sessions just because of time. She did complete that second evaluation as well. I've spoken with Bridges. They have stated that the psychological evaluation is not ready, but that we will definitely have it before the next review hearing in March.
And I know what the department's recommendation is for parenting time to remain suspended, waiting for a psychological evaluation. However, it is my understanding as well, a psychological evaluation is basically one visit where they ask certain questions, evaluate you, write a report. However, the counselor that she has been seeing for several months is saying that she is benefiting and is recommending that she move back to supervised visits. So why is the department, rather than going with her very regular counselor's recommendation, waiting upon the psychological?
Our recommendation to wait for the psychological evaluation, one, stems from Tiffany not abiding by the order to not have contact with the kids, and that subsequently impacting Corinne, as well as based on Jeanette not always knowing the full story of Jeanette is only privy to the information that Tiffany provides her. We have had Tiffany sign a release for me to share more information with Jeanette. And so I just want to make sure that it's not going to cause more harm to particularly Corinne's mental health, and making sure that mom is stable enough to resume those visits without impacting Corinne's mental health.
Thank you. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Hansel?
Yes, I just have a couple of questions. How long has Corinne been enrolled in her current school?
She, at least throughout the school year, I would argue that she's probably been in Gaylord schools most of her life, to my knowledge.
Okay. And when she speaks of wishing to be enrolled in another school or an alternative school, where would that be? Do you know?
She wishes to transfer to Mansalona schools.
Do you know why that school specifically?
I do not. She had, my best guess is because she had already had a plan of how she was going to get to school. She is aware that Mansalona schools have a bus that picks up at Lowe's, and she has a plan to purchase dial-a-ride tickets there and back each day to Lowe's to ride the bus. So my guess is that it's the only school that she can readily make that plan for.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, she hasn't requested or she hasn't changed schools before. This would be a first.
To my knowledge, that's correct.
And she complains that she is being bullied at school. Is that correct?
Yes.
And her counselor at school, who I would assume is a licensed counselor, believes that the potential change in schools would benefit her. Is that right?
It is her community mental health counselor, not the guidance counselor at school.
Okay, so it's a community mental health counselor.
Correct.
Okay, so perhaps even more training. And then, however, it's the department's philosophy or in working with her that you feel that her her coping skills, that she's not utilizing her coping skills as well as she should, and if she stayed in Gaylord schools, she would be forced to do so. Is that right? Or what do you?
Yes, I've talked with the guidance counselor at the school, and she is not aware of any major bullying. She is aware of a couple of instances where Corinne has lied to her friend group, and then when their friends find out that she has lied, she then is, I guess, rather picked out on that, not necessarily bullied, but they essentially call her out on that. And so the school counselor has advised me that she's aware of a couple of these instances, but nothing that would warrant any rise to the level of bullying. However, the community mental health counselor that Corinne sees defines it as bullying, but isn't able to provide clear examples as to why she finds it to be bullying. So we're just trying to get a little bit more time and understanding of, is this truly a bullying issue, or is this a lack of coping with regular teenage friend issues?
Okay. And I think we can all agree that the issues that Corinne has had to deal with in her life have not necessarily been regular teenage issues. There've been some pretty
Absolutely
difficult situations that she's had to deal with. I have no other questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sommerfeld, any additional witnesses or evidence?
No, thank you, Judge.
Mr. Delaney, any witnesses or evidence?
No, Dennis, I don't intend to call you as a witness because your report was positive, unless there's something you really want the judge to know that would make a difference. If you can figure out how to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, I do not have anything at this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Brown, any witnesses or evidence?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Hansel, any witnesses or evidence?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Summerfeld, closing statement?
Thank you, Judge. I will note we're 27 months into this case. Going back before the court's time, the court's been on the case for over a year now. Mr. Hodges, he was participating in some services and then he went to prison. Now he's out and it looks like he's engaging. Ms. Rice said he's doing everything he's supposed to be doing. Mom, after 27 months, we're not at a point where we can recommend to the court that we think that she could appropriately parent the kids. There's still issues of substance abuse, mental health, hanging around the wrong people, wild stories about friends spiking drinks with me. If that's not a sign to find somebody else to hang out with, I don't know what else is. But there is an outstanding psychological evaluation, and I know it's coming late in the process here. However, we have to get those results, figure out maybe there's additional service that hasn't been offered, and Ms. Barnett should engage with that. And if that's the case, she needs to get right on that so that we don't waste any more time. If there are no changes between the two, the old psychological and the new one, and there's no significant progress here, the department's really going to start thinking about asking the court for a goal change because we don't have substantial compliance as it relates to mom. So we are asking to continue the goal of reunification and to offer and order parenting time as outlined by Ms. Rice. That would be supervised or unsupervised for Mr. Hodges, and that is supervised by the department or its designee. And then as far as parenting time for mom, the court previously suspended parenting time due to that issue over the summer. I don't think we have enough information yet. And as Ms. Rice said, Ms. Barnett's counselor, Ms. Sayre, she doesn't have all the information because she's only getting one side of the story from Ms. Barnett. And I know this wasn't asked specifically, but I think through inference, Ms. Rice was saying that maybe Jeanette Sayre doesn't know the whole story. So but I would also encourage the court to talk about mom and just tell her there's the Williams case. Children are not meant to be in foster care for long periods of time, waiting for parents to make radical changes. Well, we're talking 27 months, that's over 2 years. We're not seeing that radical change here that was necessary. Mom went from alcohol, now there's the Vivitrol shot, there's positives, hanging out with wrong people. This radical change is not happening, and the children need permanence. And mom's still going to get an opportunity, but I really think that she needs to know where she stands in this process at this time and what the department's position is. Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Delaney.
The court's heard the testimony relative to Dennis Hodges, so there is no reason for me to elaborate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Hansel.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm in agreement with the recommendation. I do believe the court should take note of what the CMH counselor has suggested as to allowing Corinne to change schools. I do agree that she's maybe created a mess in her peer group by being untruthful, and I think she's learned her lesson. However, I think Corinne has learned a lot of hard lessons in life. I think she has had to deal with the adults in her life learning hard lessons, and I think I think she's had a lot of tough love results. I think that this is a chance to give her a break, and it would make her life easier at this time. And they have it figured out where she could go to Mansalona schools. I think that that's something that, as long as her CMH counselor supports it, I think it's something that should be considered and taken into consideration for her future. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. Mr. Hodges, I'm going to start with you. It appears to me that you're doing what you need to be doing to keep up the good work. I'm pleased that I'm only hearing positive things about you, but I think you know that it's too early to really do a whole lot. The proof will be in the pudding in the future. If you continue to do the good work, things will continue to be positive for you. I think you're doing everything that you need to do at the moment, so I don't have anything to say that you need to do other than what you've heard already today. So keep up the good work. Mom, I wish I could say the same thing for you. We're at a point where if you're not going to make significant changes, I'm going to approve the request that I know is coming from MDHHS to change where we're going with this case. 27 months is too long for any child to be separated from their parents. And at some point, I got to say, if the parents aren't going to change, I'm going to change the trajectory of where the kids are going. I'm not going to leave them in limbo waiting for you to catch up. And I've got to agree with Mr. Sommerfeld. I don't care how you got in your system. That's ridiculous. I don't care if somebody spiked your drink or not. You shouldn't be hanging out with people that are connected. In your circumstance, to be messing around with that stuff or people that are doing that stuff is ridiculous. It tells me that you're not got your head screwed on straight and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I'm not going to put up with it much longer. You're going to get 90 days just basically because the psychological evaluation isn't here and ready yet. If I had my druthers, I'd say enough is enough. So you got 90 days to improve. And that doesn't mean a little bit. That means leaps and bounds. You've got setbacks in substance abuse. You've got setbacks in your coping skills. The fact that you had to take a psychological evaluation and you were bothering with whether or not you're going to do that or not and almost canceling it is ridiculous. If you've got some serious anxiety issues, then deal with them. But life is going to happen and you got kids and you can't be reacting in such an anxious manner that you can't make simple decisions that benefit you and your children. The fact that you making your child be the mom and you're being the child in your relationship with her is also worrisome to me. You were ordered not to have any contact with her. You didn't, not only once, but a number of times. And it has a negative impact on your child. That's going to continue. I'm just going to cut off the relationship, period. Don't make me have to do that. Ms. Hansel has asked that I allow Corinne to change schools, and I'm not going to do that. I believe that Corinne is looking at her mom and how her mom ducks issues and is trying the same strategy. I'm willing to look at that again in 90 days or sooner if the school counselors, and I mean both schools, the Gaylord Middle School and the Mansalona schools, if there's some agreement on how they believe that would benefit Corinne. But I believe that ducking problems simply postpones dealing with the issues. Unfortunately, kids at our age, in our time now, put a lot of emphasis, as they have in past years, I suppose, too, but even more so today, on how the kids around them are treating them. And Corinne's got to grow up and recognize that just because your friends are mean to you doesn't mean that you have to accept what they say is true. And she's got to learn how to deal with those kinds of issues in order to become a productive member of our society. And I think the best place that she can do it is where the people around her know her, where the guidance counselors can deal with her. And I would ask that the middle school counselors, before any of that happens, that the middle school counselors speak with the CMH counselors so everybody's on the same page and everybody's got the same information. I'm not willing to send Corinne off just simply because she got her feelings hurt because somebody called her out when she was not telling them the truth. So I'm going to keep Corinne where she's at. It may sound a little harsh, but sometimes tough love is the best love. All right. Based on the testimony and the documentation that I reviewed, we're going to continue the goal of reunification. Miles and Corinne will remain under the jurisdiction of the court and MDHHS for care, custody, and supervision. We will authorize, or I will authorize, another 90-day evaluation period to monitor and assess the progress that both parents are making, and because of the need for a new or additional psychological evaluation to make additional recommendations. Mom will participate in a healthy relationship education. Parenting time for mom will be suspended, continue to be suspended pending the results of the psychological evaluation. At which point parenting time may be supervised or unsupervised in the discretion of MDHHS. And mom, this is your opportunity to show us that you can make big changes. I expect that that will be true. I'll be very disappointed if it is not. Parenting time for Mr. Hodges will be supervised or unsupervised at the discretion of MDHHS. And if he continues to improve, I would expect MDHHS will expand his parenting time commensurately. Both Mr. and Mrs. Mom or Dad will participate in and listen very carefully, benefit from their respective parent agency treatment plans. Mom needs to improve in parenting skills, whatever the psychological evaluation requires her to do, her substance abuse issues and her emotional stability. She must progress in all areas. Dad must increase in his parenting skills. He's doing a good job. Just continue to do that. His substance abuse issues just simply needs to be sober for a continuing and longer period of time. And then he needs to address issues of housing and transportation. He's doing a good job on his own, but in the future, he's going to need to be able to provide for his daughter and his son, or excuse me, his child. So he needs to address those areas as well. Mr. Sommerfeld, is there any other orders of the court that you would request at this time?
No, thank you, Judge. You got it covered.
Mr. Delaney?
No, thank you.
Mr. Brown?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Hansel?
No, sir.
That will be the order of the court then. Thank you very much. We'll set a review hearing in approximately 90 days.
Thank you, Judge.
Yep.